Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday. It's snowy in Buffalo. Shocking.
It may be snowing here tomorrow, and I might not be able to go to Henrik Lundqvist's retirement night because there might be like a foot of snow when I return, and that's.
I heard this last night. I found this laughable. If you want to complain about like weathermen in weather women or weather girls or whatever you want to call them in wherever, and how inaccurate they are, and they are inaccurate because weather is inherently unpredictable. They said, well, there's possibility of snow in the greater New York area, and the range was 2 to 20 inches.
Right.
You know the difference between 2 and 20? 2 is a dusting in Buffalo. 20 is when they call out the friggin' National Guard.
Well, one of the Jets beat writers quote tweeted over that and said, well, the Jets could win between 1 and 17 games next year. And it's true. It's like the same thing. It's like I appreciated that. All right. So let's talk about Jake Paul, I got to get in the thing here.
Boxer.
Yeah. So he's doing some good things for boxers. He's helping get eyeballs on the sport. I don't know about the validity of his matches, but he's getting eyeballs on the sport, and there's, as a result, some more boxing matches being booked. And so, that's good. He cares about boxers. That's good. But now he's talking about starting a union. And
well,
he already said he has a diss track for Dana.
Yeah, I know.
UFC.
Yes.
And so it's like, hold on, you are going to attack that guy and all of his stable like tomorrow, and you announced it on ESPN today in a holy shirt, by the way. Even if it's the style, he had 3 holes in his shirt on national TV. Like, I don't know, is that really the style? Someone in the chat room tell me, because I know if people saw me with 3 holes in my shirt, I would be excoriated.
Dana White, yes.
Dana White, thank you.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's a style. All I know is that a shirt with holes in it in my house is called a rag. Yeah. Now, this is the thing. The last thing I heard about Jake Paul after I saw the knockout, that did look like, it looked like a dive from like a mob dive from the 1950s.
Yeah.
Was that he was trying to get Tyson to fight him in a and I'm like, okay, Tyson might do it because it'll be an easy $30 million, but this is the state of boxing as it is right now. It's just, it's just sort of disgraceful and almost like it's getting to the point of almost wrestling with guys like Jake Paul. Who was the basketball player that he knocked out?
I don't even care. I don't even know.
It was a former Knick, and he knocked him out. It was like really, he knocked him down. The guy got up, and then he like knocked him into next Tuesday.
Okay, so here's the thing. So on his Twitter account, Jake Paul, he's got ring girls and signs that are normally UFC signs that say F Dana White. Like, listen, dude.
He's going to war.
Yeah, if you want to start a union, then start a union and go try and union bust the UFC in a professional and legal way. To do it the way he did it, all he's going to do is create a ridiculous war of words.
Is he trying to start a UFC union or a boxing?
He said boxers union, but obviously UFC is closely related to boxing, so that would include them, and so that's why he's doing that. Something else to consider that he said, and this is why I can't take the guy seriously, even if he has a good heart about boxers. So first thing he said was, no, I'm in the early part of my boxing career, and nobody remembers who Mike Tyson fought in his first fight or Muhammad Ali fought in his first fight. Nobody knows. And I'm like, hold on, that sounds very Trumpian to me. I put in Mike Tyson's first fight into Google, and bing, there it is. Because you know why? Everybody knew about Mike Tyson. Everybody knew about his trainer. It wasn't a big mystery. Mike Tyson didn't come out of nowhere. Everybody knew. So the fact that he is acting like all of a sudden he is like recreating the boxing world with these garbage matches, I don't know what his end game is.
Yeah. And just because Terry...
And he's right. His name was Cassius Clay in those days for his first fight. Yes.
Right. Just because Terry 3G mentioned it, I just, I'm not getting political, but and I'd never listened to Joe Rogan. Never.
I've only seen clips that everybody rips him on now.
Right. I never watched.
I barely listened to him in news radio.
I've never watched him. I don't listen.
You didn't watch news radio?
No, I never watched it.
Okay.
Is that the one with Phil Hartman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know of it. I didn't watch it. If I didn't watch it regularly. But Joe Rogan is on Spotify. His podcast is on Spotify, and apparently he's a vehement, rampant anti-vaxxer. To the point that Neil Young, who is a pro-vaxxer, apparently said, you can pull my music off Spotify if you don't pull down Joe Rogan. And they pulled down Neil Young's music because, honestly, you can get Neil Young's music anywhere. So, you know, and Rogan draws millions of listens to Spotify. And this is the thing. It's like, I'm not taking a side either. I love Neil Young and his music. And I own a bunch of his CDs, but I'm for free speech. And if Joe Rogan is an idiot, which he probably is, he has the freedom, he has the ability and the want to have his speech be heard. So I don't know.
I am for free speech. However, I am not for free misinformation at the drop of a hat. If you have that many listeners and make that much money, there is a responsibility. And Howard Stern talked about it the other day. There's a responsibility when you broadcast, and there is. And
wait. Howard Stern is the one.
No, but listen, what's interesting is, Mike, the only thing that he talks about that people don't like is when he talks about, sexual things or things that happen in life. But when he's talking about real things that happen out in the world, he is giving real information. I'm not saying you should listen to Howard Stern for real information. I said I listened to the clip, and what he did say makes complete sense, and it is true. And Joe Rogan's violating that.
Yeah, I don't want to listen to Joe Rogan about vaccines, and I really don't want.
You don't, but a lot of people do, and that's a problem.
I don't, and I really don't want to listen to Howard Stern talking about double anal, because that's what he did. So anyway, okay.
But the idea is he is an influencer now, and a lot of people do, and it's bad that Spotify doesn't care about that, honestly.
No, they care about making money. Yep. That's what they care about. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, January 27th, 2022.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello. And yes, Terry 3G, I did have my gallon of Tang today. And this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. It prevents colds.
Do you still have trouble buying it? Like, is it still readily on the shelf? No?
It's readily available.
Whatever happened to the special flavor you were supposed to buy for Off the Post? You never came through on that.
It disappeared. I couldn't find it. The thing is, with the supply chain crisis, Russ, I wonder whether it's a fruit punch Tang or whatever flavor it was is still out there. But maybe I'll.
You need to try it. Like that was a focus at one point.
I'll give it a look again, because it would be good. All right, we have to talk about this. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and that's the Arizona Coyotes. And the NHL and their complete inability to realize that area is not conducive to success in the NHL, but they're never going to give up. And Craig Morgan reported, and Elliot Friedman confirmed and indicated on his radio show, or his spot on the Jeff Merrick show today, that this is pretty much a done deal, that the Coyotes are in discussion with the Arizona State University to use their arena as a temporary home while they build their building, which, by the way, is not confirmed that they're going to be able to build their building. So this might all be, in case. Or
mirrors,
right? No, it's like, okay, if we get the bid in Tempe passed, here's our fallback. But Friedman revealed a couple things, and this is what I think there could be some problems with the league unless the ownership of the Coyotes has already gotten it cleared through Bettman, who would do anything to keep that team in Arizona. But either him or Jeff said that this could be a problem with the PA. After they do the upgrades to the building, and the Arizona State arena has a 5,000 seat capacity.
That's 5, not 4. Okay.
It's 5,000. But if they do the upgrades that are needed to be done, I'm assuming that means for, camera bays
Mhm.
and for locker rooms and things that to make it
And
bring
it
it
is going to be 4.
3,200. 3,200. Do you think that the PA is going to have a problem with the law? I mean, okay, the Coyotes in their crappy state right now don't draw much at all, but they probably draw 7,000-8,000. You're talking about cutting that in half for not for a year, for 3 or 4 years.
Well,
Now,
it's definitely 3, like I reported the last time.
right
It's
now,
at least 3.
Now the thing is that this could all be contingent on them getting the deal in Tempe completed and then building the building, because otherwise, if they're not building the building, then they're probably gone someplace else. Merrick reported that it's possible that the NHL could buy back the Coyotes because it appears that their current ownership group is only interested in building the building as part of a real estate deal that involves condos and things of that nature. And if they can't get that done, then the whole purpose of having the team is gone. So, I mean, Russ, we talked about this last week when you got that information. I of the opinion that you got to move this team out of Arizona. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to change, but the NHL just seems to keep stringing it along.
This isn't the NHL this time. I think this is their ownership trying to say, hey, we know we don't have a deal, and they have something new every month, right? To kind of string everybody along. So this month it's this. And so, the story gets put up, but the same basic questions still exist, like you said. And like I brought up last week, so far that Tempe deal has no interest in this ownership. Could that change? Yeah, I guess. But right now they don't. So far, the NHL has been absolutely said it's a no-go for teams to go into arenas that aren't NHL quality, right? We've heard that. And even the Coliseum had to make upgrades to get the Islanders. Now, if the upgrades here stop them from having an extra 800 seats, because I thought it would be 4,000, then what are we doing here? Are they really going to approve it? I don't think so. And I think this is just like all the last-ditch effort. And then again, like you had told me that some people think there's still a play against Glendale. Glendale has been very clear, and they've been telling people, listen, we're not renewing the deal, which they didn't. They collected their money, which they did. They said we only need to have 20 shows there a year and we'll make the same amount of money as the Coyotes. So they're booking for that. And their plan is to remove the ice. Now, is there a percentage chance that could change? I guess. But the idea is they're done with the whole hockey thing. And I can't even imagine the NHL is going to change their mind. I really can't.
Now, remember, and I know this because I had friends who at the time lived in the Phoenix area, and we went to a Coyotes Leafs game. The Gila River Arena is in Glendale, which is west of the city. Most of the population is in the city proper, and east of the city in Scottsdale, which is very hoity-toity. Tempe is right next to Scottsdale on the eastern side of Phoenix. So it makes sense for them to build it there, but if they can't get the city to sign up for it, if they're not, giving cash to the right people, it's not going to get done. I mean, that's the thing. This is all a shell game.
Yeah, the builders want it built. I've heard from the builder side, they want it built, believe me.
Right.
But the other parts of it are not in lockstep at all.
Remember past instances of teams playing in limited seat capacity. I'm sure, I think Flamester is in the chat. I think the Calgary Corral was only like around 10,000 when they were building the Saddle Dome in the 80s.
Is he that old? Does he know about that?
Yeah. Oh, Flamester's old.
He's older than that. Okay.
He's old. I think Flamester's in his 50s or 60s. So he's as old as us.
He's in his 60s.
Nassau Coliseum was what, 10 or 11,000, but that was
it's 14.5 the way it is now, and
okay. So that's not bad. That's bad. No. That's on par with Barclay. So that was a good fallback. And even then, there were complaints about it not being as much as, they were losing 1,000 seats or 1,500 seats. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't see them going to a building that small for that long. And, it's like, Jeff Merrick said, well, could it be a Montreal Expo situation where, they play half the year in Puerto Rico and half the year? I mean, if it gets to that, just move them.
It's not happening. Thomas asked for an update on Nassau Coliseum. The update is they have the Long Island Nets who play there. They're a G League team, and they have concerts. That's it. That's Nassau Coliseum now. That's what Gila River is going to be. Exactly the same thing. They're going to operate exactly the same way because it was costing them more money to have people working there for more games to have a place half full, not even half full.
Yeah. So just touching on something we mentioned at the end of the show yesterday. So Aaron Dell got 3 games for the play on for the interference on Drake Batherson. DJ Smith, the coach of the Ottawa Senators, said that Batherson, it's a high ankle sprain, which in a way is probably worse than a broken bone. Because
that's going to bother him the whole year.
Yeah, they said he's out probably for a couple months. So that essentially derails his season. So
that needed to be a 5-game suspension. 3 is not enough. There's no reason for a goalie to make that play. He didn't have to. And again, if we're going to call that interference, Mike, if somebody comes down the street and does that to you, you're going to call that assault, not interference.
And he has a history of that. Apparently, he did it to Mark Stone. In his career, he did it to early in the season against Nashville. The funny thing is this puts Buffalo in a really precarious position because they don't have any goalies. Luukkonen's hurt. We had Joe Yerdon on Tuesday. Luukkonen's out week to week. Craig Anderson and Tokarski are skating, but they're still on IR. Right now they have Michael Hauser. So Michael Hauser is going to have to play the next three games while Dell.
Tokarski's skating now. I did see that.
Right. But Joe said that he's still having headaches. Okay. And Anderson was a neck or concussion. We don't know for sure. And he's skating, but, can he be the backup or do they have to go out and
get signed an E-bug from Buffalo State?
So, David Ayers is available.
Yeah. But he doesn't want to cross the border. They'll get someone from Buff State or something. Whatever.
I said, I got my pads in my shed.
Yeah, you got your own equipment. I
got my double runners. All right, let's talk about some of the games last night. We're not going to do a full hour show today. No. We'll be back tomorrow with Kevin Allen and Eck, and probably talking about the Western Conference,
which would be the Bomb Genesis version of the show.
The what?
The Bomb Genesis. The snow storm that they're going to call it. They're calling it a Bomb Genesis because it's 40-mile-an-hour winds and.
Put these names away. Jesus Christ, the Bomb Genesis. Okay. So last night I watched the complete Leafs-Ducks game. Again, still strange after fans were back in the building to go back to empty arenas. I really, I'm not going to attack the province of Ontario, but when you have full buildings in the U.S., and you have partial buildings in other areas in Canada, and you have no fans at all, and this phased return, it's asinine. It's going to cost all NHL teams next year because the lost revenue, which is probably like $25 million, is going to probably prevent the NHL from increasing their salary cap. And I don't think that not having fans in buildings is going to prevent the widespread of Omicron. It's spread out all over the place. So, bad on Ontario. I disagree with it, but whatever. But last night, it was a dominant performance by the Leafs in the sense that they had 44 shots on goal. And John Gibson was phenomenal. So nobody tell me that John Gibson is not great. He's great.
Nobody on this panel will tell you that.
Yeah, but somebody else who we have occasionally on the show we'll say he's not the greatest. But 44 shots on goal, he makes 41 saves. Jack Campbell faces 20 shots, and I'm not putting this all on him, but He has not been sharp really sharp since the beginning of December. I looked up his stats. His record is really good, 8-2-2. His save percentage is over 3, and his goals against is 3.12. So he's below average since then.
He's allowed to dip a little, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm not. He's played a lot more games than anybody thought he was going to play. So I think it's physical and mental fatigue, a combination of the two. But the Leafs were up 3-1. Where have we heard this before? They give up a goal late in the second period. They give up the tying goal to Kevin Shattenkirk. They come back, they win in the shootout. But, Russ, that's the 5th time in 7 games they've had a 3-1 lead at certain points of the game and have blown it. This time they win, but it's not a good trend.
No, it's not. Just looking at the list, like from Money Puck, with basically that's got like save percentage on unblocked shots and expected goals and everything. Jack Campbell's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th most effective. Ville Husso is just ahead of him, but he only has played 13 games, to be fair. Freddie Anderson, regular season Freddie, is 3rd. Tristan Jarry is 5th. The number 1 guy is Igor Shesterkin, and I can't find the other potential. Oh, there he is, Ilya Sorokin, behind Robin Lehner.
Wow, the 2 Russians, the Hart and Vezina Trophy winner.
No, but you remember, like Sorokin and Shesterkin were going to be neck and neck.
Yeah, but
somebody's neck is shorter, Mike.
But and one interesting thing, and I didn't notice this because I was basically busily typing in that the Leafs had won 4-3 in a shootout. Ricard Raquel was stopped by Campbell on the final shot and giving the Leafs the victory. And then after Campbell had kicked out the puck, Raquel reflexively shot the puck into the net. And Campbell, I guess, was so nonplussed about it that he just shrugged and celebrated. But it was just sort of weird. It was like, that's something that, like, if there were fans in the stand, there probably would have been booing, or there would have maybe been some reaction from the other team. But the interesting thing about this, Russ, is that, okay, the Leafs are 26-10-3. They're on the pace for 116 points. And they're on pace to finish 3rd in that division.
So far.
Well, yeah. And I'm just saying, I mean, right now, Florida's on pace for like 120 and Tampa's on pace for 117.
Some of those teams could slow down a little.
Yeah. But they're so good right now. I mean, yes, one of them could have a dip. I don't think 2 of them will have a dip, but
no.
That's the issue with the Leafs right now, is that they can have a fantastic regular season, finish behind those 2 teams, and lose in the first round, and then everybody's going to say,
"Well, here's an interesting grouping, like for goals saved above expected per 60." And this isn't the top guys, because the top guys like Shesterkin and whatever, but I found a grouping of Anderson, Merzlikins, Campbell, Kemper, Hart, Quick, Jarry, Gibson, Leonard, Nedeljkovic. And that's and then Demko. That's an interesting grouping, and it does show that, again, Carolina. Yes, you upgraded in goal, but you gave a good goalie away to Detroit. It shows that, and then it also shows that that Gibson's right in there with a lot of the really good goalies. Merzlikins is too. So it is an interesting grouping, but like Shesterkin was ahead of them, and there were some other guys that were ahead of those guys, but that was like the next level grouping.
A lot of questions are going to have to be answered by the management of the Carolina Hurricanes if they lose in the first round this year with Ronta and Anderson, and Nedeljkovic has a great year with a rebuilding Wings team. And they'll have to answer the question of what was it that you thought Nedeljkovic was not good?
Right.
It was just your being cheapskates and not wanting to pay him after having a pretty good year.
I mean, here's a little guide as to how you may have made a mistake. How long was he on waivers until Steve Yzerman said, "We'll take him"? It was like seemed like 10 minutes. He took him.
He wasn't on waivers when they traded him.
Oh, he wasn't. Okay.
No, he was on.
What did they trade for him?
A third-round pick.
A third round, but that happened pretty quick when he fell out of favor, right?
Well, it was before. It was before he was gonna file for arbitration.
That's what it was.
Yeah, no, he was on waivers. Yeah. He was on waivers earlier in the year when he basically only played for Charlotte. But yeah, no, I mean,
when a guy like Yzerman's willing to grab him because you no longer have use for him, and you gave him a gift. Like, this is a team. Yeah. Detroit literally told the world, and Yzerman said it, and Kevin Allen said it many times, we are looking for a goalie. Carolina's like, here, take this guy for a third rounder.
Nedeljkovic buys them 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Kosa's ready.
Yeah. So but it's just like you gave it to him, and you're right. If Anderson flutters in the playoffs at all you have to do is go back and look at that.
Some other games last night. The Calgary Flames beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 6-0.
Hold up your pad.
What's that?
Hold up your steno pad there.
Oh, for Columbus?
Oh yeah, I watched a little of that. It's not even close, man. That team is done.
62 shots on goal for the Flames. They've scored 13 goals in their last 2 games. So, they've got a lot of games to make up. They're only at 38 games right now, while most of the teams are past the halfway point. So
they were like a JV team last night.
And Matthew Tkachuk has gone nuts. Now he's definitely on a salary drive. Now he's got 20, and he's an RFA at the end of the year. So, right now he's in pretty decent shape.
Listen, I'll tell you what I would do if I were Calgary. If he's really not coming back, I would go to St. Louis and say, give me Perinovich and a pick, and I'll do the trade.
Oh, for
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, but not right now.
No. At the end of the year, summer, whatever, that's the trade I would make. You give me a high pick and Perinovich, and you could have him.
Funky, is he in the top 10? Nope. Okay.
But it's good to know. We appreciate it.
Yes. Other games, Sharks beat the Capitals 4-1. We sort of missed it a couple days ago, but Erik Karlsson finds himself where he normally is, which is on IR.
Yeah.
He
was having a good year. Let's be fair.
He was having a very good year, but he just can't stay healthy.
And this is like a forearm injury, right? It had nothing to do with his leg.
Right. And they said like 2 months. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, they're just some players that top 10 in Mike's black heart. Thank you. Yes. The Blackhawks beat the Red Wings 8-5.
Hold on. There was more to talk about there. So we have to talk about the fact that now Chicago called up Colin Delia. And so you do wonder now, is there a quick trade going to happen with Fleury going to the Capitals? It does seem like this could happen fast.
It's possible, although, it is also possible there are teams that are right up against it when it comes to goaltending, like Buffalo, and maybe Colin Delia is being called up so he could be traded. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think so. I think they've probably spoken to Fleury, and he's probably given him a few teams that he would like to go to. And if Washington's one of them, I think they could be in pretty good acceleration mode here because like Kevin said yesterday, McClellan is pretty good at working undercover.
Yeah.
And I do feel like we're going to wake up in the next day or 2 or 3 and Fleury is a Capital.
Now, the other game, the game I watched a little bit of last night was Colorado and the Bruins, and Twitter went bonkers when McKinnon got hit by Taylor Hall, which is odd because usually Taylor Hall is the one getting hit.
Yes.
And the one getting hurt. I have not heard anything about the Department of Player Safety being called. It ended up being a 2-minute minor for I don't know, it was interference or whatever.
No, somebody said it was 5 minutes, I thought.
Well, they reviewed it and I saw it was a 2-minute penalty.
Okay. Maybe they thought it was going to be 5. And
they thought it was going to be 5, but then they saw that actually what happened was Hall hit McKinnon's stick into his face, into his visor.
That's what caused because he went for the far shoulder and it was a clean hit. Like, that's a clean hit.
Right. I mean, if the shoulder had hit his head or hit his,
Yeah, like Bill C said, they called it a 5-minute major so they could review it. That's fine. I knew it was.
right.
I knew there was a 5-minute thing in there somewhere.
Yeah. So, in the end, the Avs, as they continue to do, win at home. They were down. They came back and won 4-3.
They're like 22-3 at home or something.
Yeah, it's insane. They've won 17 in a row at home. Now, here's the question. They were just talking about this. Is that they like Kemper? They gave up a first round pick for him. They like Francouz, but he's had injuries. They would maybe prefer to stay with their goaltending and maybe add. There's been some Kludge rumors out there. We don't know what.
Yeah, I know they've been scouting them.
Right. I don't know whether that's going to come to fruition because Giroux's contract is so big. But I really think that Joe Sakic is risking a lot if he doesn't go out and get a goaltender. Because if the reason that they don't win is a goaltender, he's going to look silly.
Yeah, but he did upgrade the position, and he does have Francouz playing good hockey. So maybe at the very end of the trading deadline, he's going to pick up someone like, not Craig Anderson, but somebody like that, just to have him in there. I mean, he probably will do that rather than give up big assets. But I do think he's still going to make a big move. Look, Bowen Byram's still out, man. He still has post-concussion. That's tough. So people kind of including Bowen Byram in trades, I don't think that's going to happen because we have to make sure he can still play hockey. I'm hopeful for that, but we read this article. What did it say over the summer? He was contemplating not playing hockey anymore because of the way he felt, but came back and now he's out. So there's that. I think they will look at Giroux and make an offer for Giroux, but Fletcher at the press conference was basically said it's up to Giroux. So he is not going to trade him just to get assets. It looks like he is either going to let Giroux play through the season or demand to be traded. Fletcher's going to kind of hang back on that. That's the way it looks. So that lends me to believe that they probably have an idea of what Giroux is looking for next year. And I think that's why Fletcher's playing this game. I know Kevin said that, the Flyers may not be able to afford Giroux, but I'm sure Fletcher has let Pat Brisson in on what he is going to do as far as salary cap, because he basically said in the press conference, I speak to Pat Brisson, I think he said weekly. So because of the amount of players that the Flyers have under, Brisson's agency. So based on that, Mike, I think both parties probably know exactly what's going to happen. And it really is going to be up to Giroux whether he decides he wants to get traded or not. He's got, a young kid in the area. He likes the area. So I know everybody's always saying, well, you're always going to go try and chase the cup. He might, but he just may not do it this year.
Well, the interesting thing is that, we saw there was a contract signed yesterday that might be sort of an indicator of what Philadelphia would want Giroux to do. Now, the thing is, Jeff Carter signed a 2-year deal at $3.125 million.
Smart deal.
It's a smart deal, 2-year deal, and we'll talk about that in a second. But he was making about almost $6 million, and his deal was one of those long monster deals. The deal that he signed with the Flyers before he got traded to Columbus, before he got to LA, and then to Pittsburgh. Giroux is making over $8 million. Flyers probably, if they're going to keep him, would want him to take probably 4.5 for a couple.
Yeah, I think they'll go higher than that. I think
5, maybe.
I think they give him 5. I think 5 is like we'll give you 5. It's respectable. We'll give you like 5 by 4, something like that.
You think they would give him 4 years?
I do.
That might get it done, but
because again, I think there was some subterfuge in that press conference, Mike. I think today you have to say Travis Konecny's part of the core. You have to say it because he's on the team, and you may not be able to trade him. But as badly as he's played since his last playoffs, I think that it is time for him to get a change of scenery. And I do think teams would be interested. And you heard Kevin. Kevin said teams would definitely be interested. So you could trade him, get good players or assets or a mix, and have the salary then to pay for Giroux and start to worrying about paying Couturier and stuff. You do have guys dropping off. You're going to trade Braun and, you're going to save on Martin Jones not being there. Sandstrom's, making entry level. Like there's way to save money.
And possibly trading Ristolainen. So
yeah, Ristolainen could be off the books at that point, or maybe they even trade somebody else we're not expecting. I don't think they would trade Provorov, but you never know. So we'll see how all of that goes. But I think that's the start of it.
So, as I mentioned, Carter signs a 2-year deal with the Penguins, $3.125 million AAV. When I talked to you earlier, I said, I think this is Malkin insurance, and it might also be Evan Rodriguez insurance, because Rodriguez has filled in for both Crosby and Malkin while they were hurt and recovering. He's had a really good year. And honestly, after seeing him play for Buffalo for years, I think he's a better player than he is, was in Buffalo. I still don't think he's a great player, but he's taken advantage of an opportunity, and he's a UFA making $1 million. And based on the year he's having, and based on the position that he plays, Russ, center, and how center is very thin, he could turn this into a 3-year deal, making significant money. And they have to basically insure themselves against either Malkin retiring or leaving, or Evan Rodriguez going someplace else. And
would it take like 2.5 or 4 years to stay in Pittsburgh? He might.
Who, Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Do you think that they would offer that lower money, not 2.5, but lower money to Malkin first? I would think that they would.
Well, I don't think you could offer that low to Malkin. It's going to have
no, not that amount.
Oh,
but I'm saying
just a lower amount. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then you have Crosby, Malkin, Carter. You're a little long in the tooth up the middle, but still, it's pretty good. And we're talking here about Pittsburgh maintaining their window. All they're talking about is extending their window here.
Right.
They've got these guys. As long as you have Crosby and you have Malkin and you have Letang and you have Carter. A couple other players. I mean, they may lose a guy like Brian Rust. They can't afford. They can't
lose Brian Rust. It's impossible.
but I'm saying they may not be able to afford him.
No, I get it. I mean, look, this is all kind of like the situation when you had a temporary crown, and it could all come crumbling down at any moment.
What? And the Pittsburgh Penguins are the chicken finger that I ate when I broke my crown.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good story that I'll share some other time, folks. And believe me, I'm still dealing with it right now. Okay, so Irfan Gaffar, who covers the Oilers, says that he believes that there will be no further discipline from the NHL on Evander Kane. This was reported about an hour ago, and that
after all that,
and that he will be heading to Edmonton to sign with the Oilers. Announcement from the league, and the team could come as early as today, likely tomorrow. So I don't think I don't think this changes the narrative much with the Oilers. The problem with the Oilers is not scoring.
No, but they're just going to try and outscore everybody now because they have nothing else left to try and do.
Yeah, great. Okay, so now you have Zach Hyman and Evander Kane on the left wing. You have Draisaitl and McDavid at center. Or at least you should have Draisaitl and McDavid at center. And probably Nugent Hopkins and Puljujarvi on the right wing. Those are two great top lines. That's fantastic.
I'm going to go with the same. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't know if
your third and fourth line blow. Your defense is thin, and your goaltending sucks. Other than that, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to outscore the competition. It's the same thing that I said like 2 months ago, that like when the Flyers put Martin Jones in net, you have to score 4 goals. You do, or you're going to not win most of those games. And again, like the other night against the Islanders scored 4. They won the game. And even Mike Yeo actually said something like that post-game, like, I thought with 3 goals we were pretty good. All he had to do was talk to me, and I would have told him, you're not good with 3 goals with Martin Jones in there. It's obvious. So it's the same thing with Koskinen, right? It's like if you score 4 goals with Koskinen or even Mike Smith in net, you'll win most of your games, like a good percentage, probably like 60%, maybe 55%. and you might be able to hold on to your spot in a lousy Pacific and get in the playoffs. But that's if you can do that. And again, there's like 2 or 3 teams in the league that are doing it. Florida, who did Kevin say the other day? It was Florida. There's a few teams that are getting more than 4 lately.
Florida, Colorado. Yeah,
they might be the only 2.
Yeah, Toronto's close to it, but not.
Yeah. So that's how much of a high octane offense they're going to have to do that. And Kane can play some defense and maybe prevent an occasional goal or 2 from happening with team defense. But listen, they're just at this point, they'll take anything.
Yeah. So
we can take questions from the chat room too.
Yeah, I put it out there. Let's see if
you did. Okay.
Have a few here. Esmer asked, does Lindy Ruff survive the season or does he get fired by New Jersey? I think he survives the season and then gets fired.
Yeah, he'll survive the season and get fired because at this point, everybody knows they're pretty much done. What's the point of paying another guy? Josh Harris is not going to pay another guy.
Goalie FP, I'm curious who the Rangers will get. I would love to get Hurdle and one of Sherratt or Giordano. Could that happen?
I mean, I think Sherratt is possible, and I do think Hurdle is possible. Hurdle, of course, San Jose is going to have to eat some money. But I do think both are possible. I think even getting both of them is possible if both of the other teams comply and eat some salary cap to get some young assets like Kravtsov and a pick and maybe Lundqvist to make that happen. I saw that. That was good. So, again, I do think we could see that. And, that would – if the Rangers were able to do that, that would put them in a different position heading into the last part of the season. Even if they don't get that much higher in the Metro, they'll be that much more dangerous in the playoffs.
Kevin talked about Zadina yesterday.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is not living up to the expectations. But I don't think the thing is Yzerman is not the type of guy who's going to just jettison some guy. He might trade him for somebody else who's not working out in the place that they're playing right now.
True.
Sort of like to get, and this guy isn't the same age as Zadina, but sort of like what, like Washington did with Brett Connolly, who was a high draft pick. It's like, okay, he got a chance to play someplace else and he was effective. I don't know who that would be. I'd have to look at the drafts around Zadina and see if there was a higher pick. But
what are you talking about? A higher pick for what?
A player who was a higher pick that isn't working out in their current location that maybe it would be a match for Zadina because he's a high pick.
The only one would be Barrett Hayton.
Yes, that's a good example. Yeah, Barrett Hayton is around the same age. So yep. Yeah.
So if you did a swap for them, the plus side of doing that is you're getting a center for Steve Yzerman, and it's not like it's really ever going to hurt you. You don't even know where that team, the Coyotes, are going to be in the next few years. So that's not that far-fetched, actually.
No. Let's tackle this one. Which non-rental right side defenseman do you think the Leafs could go after and what it possibly takes to get any of them? Okay, first of all, this is based off of the report that Chris Johnston reported that the Leafs, if they're looking to upgrade their blue line, which I think everybody thinks that they will, that they'd look for a non-rental as opposed to a rental. The non-rental that was mentioned last week by Elliot Friedman and by Darren Drager was Sherratt, which I was skeptical of until I talked to Pete Tessier, and he said that Sherratt played the right side in Winnipeg and has played some right D in Montreal, so he could play the right side. I think they need a righty, and according to CJ, they would prefer to get somebody with term. So would we all. But I mean, I think
they may not be able to pull that off, though.
I think what they're saying is if we're going to give up our one, we want somebody who's a solution for multiple years and not just for the last 25 games.
I mean, I'll give you the trade right now.
Well, I mean, the name that we've both mentioned But it's a question of whether he's a right fit. Is Damon Severson?
Yeah, I don't think he's available though. That's the thing.
Right. I mean, he has been available in the past.
Yeah, but he's having a really good year now.
Okay. So what were you going to say?
Oh, I'm just looking up Severson. I know I have him on my fantasy team, so I know he's having a really good year. He's got 19 points in 39 games. So I still don't think they're going to do it because they have cost certainty with him. I'm going to say one that you will hate, but Justin Braun for a third-round pick satisfies.
He's not, but he's a rental.
He's a right-handed shot.
Yeah, but he's a rental. We're talking about a non-rental.
No, but you may not be able to get a non-rental. Is my point.
Let's go along with the question here. Is there a non-rental right-hand shot defenseman that would fit that description? Severson is one, but
with Severson for a first, I don't think they would do. You're going to have to do better than that.
Right, they may have to offer more than that. But then that's the thing. It's like when they traded for Muzzin, I think it was Trevor Moore, a first, and it's tough because they made two deals with the Kings. One was for Clifford and Campbell. The other one was for Muzzin. I know in the Muzzin deal they gave up a one, which turned out to be Bjornfoot and Dursey, and there was one other player. I think it was Moore.
Yeah, Severson's got another year at $5 million.
It was Grunstrom. That's what it was. Grunstrom, Dursey, and a one.
Yeah. Did you hear what I said?
No.
Severson has another year at $5 million. So it's like
his AAV is 4.1, but his money is 5.
His money's 5, so it's a little less AAV. But the idea is, so based on that cost certainty, if the Devils get rid of him, it's going to cost them more to replace him. That's why I don't think they're going to do it.
Right. El Guapo asks, every time I hear El Guapo, it says, I'm going to fill you with so much lead that you're going to be able to use your bleep as a pencil. I love that line. Do you think that the NHL will ever go back to the full 2-minute penalty regardless if the other team scores, which is like a 2-minute major, basically?
Yes. No.
I think they could. I think it's possible.
Okay.
And not likely, but possible. We know how once they change a rule, because that was the rule back. That was the anti-Montreal Canadiens rule, I believe. It was like the Habs of the 50s and 60s. They scored so many goals on the power play. They wanted to take away the advantage. So, okay. Funky asks, which team will sign Eric Stahl after the Olympics? It won't be the Minnesota Wild.
No, actually, one thing about the Wild, since you mentioned the name, so there's two things going on with them. Kaprizov is on pace to have a 100-point season, which nobody's ever had in the history of that team, including Marian Gaborik. So just to show you how much impact he's had, everybody kept asking me on this show for years, and especially how good is Kaprizov? Well, we know how good. Now you know.
Which team will sign Eric Stahl after the Olympics? If you remember the rumors before he got traded to Montreal last year, there was some talk about him going to play with Jordan in Carolina. So if I was going to guess, I would say that. Yeah,
I would say Carolina. The other thing I would say about the Wild is I just saw, and I can't remember the guy's name. See if I can give proper credit here. Hopefully. So there was a piece. Hold on, getting this thing.
Well, while you're looking that up,
Brett Marshall. There's a guy named Brett Marshall who wrote that since Matt Boldy has gotten to Minnesota, that Kevin Fiala has now started to pick everything up. And I said, it's not a real surprise. Matt Boldy is supremely talented skate. He's much better skater than he used to be. He's really good in the corners, and he wins puck battles. So this is another reason why I told you I was so high on the Wild, because they had rookies that were on the verge, and now Matt Boldy may be there to stay, and he's already helping ignite another player. So
it's funny that the rumors when the Eichel trade was going down and that Minnesota was interested, the names that were coming out of Minnesota, or the names that the Sabres supposedly wanted out of Minnesota, were Rossi and Boldy.
Yeah.
And
of course.
I'll just answer this question silently. Let's see here. Any more questions?
But Mike, that's bad for the podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, I held my "it's over" sign. Mike
And it
Pols.
was the question. You didn't say what the question was.
Do the Islanders still have a chance? No, it's over. Mike Polsky says, "When is the first Flyer trade?" Well, let's specify this. What is the first Islander trade? Or the Flyers trade? I think it'll be Martin Jones. Because goalies situations in the league.
No, I think they'll wait on Jones simply because of like goalie rotation and the complications of who they're bringing up. And
think it'll be Braun.
I do think it's going to be Braun. I think he's going to be the first one. He's been playing really, really tough, good hockey for like a month now, and blocking shots, playing minutes. He's not getting hurt. He's not even getting gassed like he was earlier in the year. And I just feel like at some point they're just gonna, he had given a sign a couple of weeks ago when he was talking about how things were before the Flyers played the Sharks, how that team was compared to the Flyers team as far as about winning. And so I do feel like at some point he'll be the first to go, not because of what he said, but to sort of reward him and to get the most out of him. I think Giroux will take to the last possible second. Martin Jones could take until the last possible second. And then Ristolainen will I think we're going to know that one pretty quick, because Fletcher in the press conference, said that he will talk to him. And I do think he's going to talk to him soon. Like, I do think in the next week or so, he's going to talk to him.
They said that Fletcher was going to talk to Brisson, who is Giroux's agent, at the All-Star game. So maybe
he'll do the same thing for Ristolainen then.
Exactly. And then they'll get an idea of whether there's a chance that they can re-sign him or not. And if not, then I think that the interest will pick up and the talks in terms of trades will begin in earnest.
Again, Fletcher reiterated that he traded for him to sign him. Doesn't mean he's going to be able to, but it does mean he's going to put a real good offer out there for Ristolainen, Mike. That's the only thing.
A report coming out of Vancouver, out of the Globe and Mail, Jake Virtanen, former Canuck, charged with sexual assault in relation to an incident that occurred in Vancouver in September of 2017 when he played for the Canucks. They're launching an investigation. Virtanen's playing in the KHL right now. And
he didn't make the roster, did he?
No, he didn't. Supposedly he was in the mix for Team Canada, but I'll bet you anything.
This kept him out of it.
No, I'll bet you anything they were given a heads up by someone.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, they knew about this.
Yeah. Thomas Boyle, we'll take a couple more here. Thomas Boyle, do you see the Jackets making changes to their coaching staff or GM position? No, they just hired Larson. So
yeah, no, I think Jarmo has done a good job there. I mean, again, we've all heard that players don't want to play there on the whole, so it's hard. He's got to get guys with term. He's drafted well. A lot of guys that he's drafted are in the lineup. So I don't think he's in any danger, honestly. Right. And JD is there now, right? And he's a big Jarmo guy. So I think until JD starts questioning Jarmo, I think everything's safe there.
If anything, this team has overachieved. A lot of people thought they were going to be as bad as Buffalo and Arizona, and they played better than that. So,
and that's the tact I think they will take when they end their season and have that little chat with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm sort of jumping here to Terry's question, but he's like one substantial forward or defenseman who could be shockingly moved at the deadline. I'll tie that in with Columbus, and I'll say Laine. I think Laine.
Oh, he's going to get moved.
Yeah. Can the league veto it? Esmir asks, can the league veto a trade if they don't like the deal that Arizona makes involving Chychrun? Yeah, they have the right to negate the deal if it's.
When's the last time they did that?
They haven't done that in a long. They did. What was it the Dale McCourt deal?
Yeah,
in the 70s.
Yeah.
But like if all of a sudden Bill Armstrong gives up Chychrun for a 7th round pick, they're negating the deal. But it's not. Right. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. They all know that they'll have to, receive the furor of Gary Bettman, and they don't want that, so they won't do that. I will throw a rumor into the mill here, though, because I was on a show last night, and the fact that Chuck Fletcher was so adamant saying that they do need a scorer made me think that they might go after Laine.
Possible.
Because, what if you do trade Konechny for Laine?
Maybe. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean,
Right?
well,
Even let's say you're not keeping Giroux, right?
could that be a signal that we're going to go after we're going to go after Goudreau in the offseason?
No, because I think Goudreau's re-signing with Calgary.
Okay.
I do. So let's just say this, though. So you trade Konechny, you bring in Laine, you sign Laine. I think that's possible. If Giroux stays, then you can't keep Ristolainen, and maybe they know that at the All-Star break. But if Giroux goes, then you probably can keep Ristolainen, and a lot of other salary drops off, and you still have to worry about the guys getting their raises, but I think they'll figure it out. And if one other player has to get traded, then that's what they'll do. But I do think Laine is the kind of guy that they're going to look at because
how high of a draft pick do you think they would give a team like Arizona to take the final year of JVR off their hands?
I don't think they would give up whatever their pick's going to be, whether it's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11.
So you're saying a 1. They'd have to give up a 1.
Yeah, and I don't think they would do that. But they
I think Arizona would take a 2 for that because remember, they need to get over the cap floor next year.
Yeah, but I don't even know if they have a 2 this year because they've traded some picks. So we'd have to look that up. But
I'll look it up quickly.
Look it up. But I think the other thing that Fletcher was throwing out there, which he threw out their last draft but didn't do it, is they would trade their draft pick for a player. So if somebody offers a player, they would trade the draft pick.
They don't have a 2 for the next 2 years.
Yeah, see, I had a feeling. So that's why he probably will only trade the 1 for a player because he's got to get something tangible.
Yeah. All right, last one here. Let's see here. Alexander. So do you think the Sharks will trade Hertl at the trade deadline if they're still in the playoff race? I think that all depends on what the final resolution of the Kane situation is. Because if they end up having to pay some of that salary, like in a sort of a buyout scenario, or they're on the hook for it all, then they can't afford to. But if they cleanse that $7 million for the next 3 years, then and Hertl's having a good year this year, and if he wants to stay, then sure. But
I think honestly, if they're truly in it, they'll walk him out the door and they'll just trade his rights. I believe that.
You mean they'll keep him for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year. I don't want to use the term that everybody uses because I hate the term. But I think they keep him for the rest of the year.
You mean to walk him to free agency? You hate
that? The own rental baloney.
Oh, please. Yeah, that's horse crap.
I hate that term.
Okay. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Lagello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. Come on.